All right, and we are live. Welcome back to Eurozone. Ruben will be joining me in a second, and with him will be Chris de Ploeg, who is running in the Amsterdam Council elections under the name of de Vonk. And yeah, we're going to have some interesting questions for him around his policies for Amsterdam. And we're also obviously going to talk about Greenland. You know me, I can't stop the geopolitics. There's some interesting things happening there. We're going to look at all the love letters that the European leaders have been sending Donald Trump. Their cowardice is immense in these times. Even in these times when they're being threatened directly, they just cannot help themselves but to continue bending over for him. And then we're going to end it off talking a little more about Denmark and some of the hypocrisy that you see in Denmark, which I think is key in these days because sooner or later, it sounds like the Europeans are going to ask you to fight for them. And the question is, should you? And my answer is, well, could be, but we need to fix some things first. I'm not going to go to war to defend a system that that's not worth defending. So yeah, it's been a yeah. Yeah. So joining us now, coming on set, we have Ruben, the co-host. He has recovered from his pneumonia that he had last time. That's barely. Do you have space there? Yeah. Yeah, we still have quite a small studio, so apologies for having to asking you to squeeze in there. But okay. Let's check your audio first, Ruben. How's it going? You have to be a bit careful with the leg that is balanced there. So let's see here.
So yeah,
Should I
a bit too loud maybe? I think I'm good here.
I would put it as close to you
close as possible?
Yeah.
Okay, something like this.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Amazing.
Or maybe if I want to be. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're comfortable?
Yeah, I'm good.
You need anything?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Then yeah, we're still on the live stream, so it's not the official question part. Let's say the more.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's just start with a more relaxed introduction. I wanted to ask you. I was searching up your name on Google Translate. Sometimes I do that with Dutch people, and it gave me Chris the team. Is that true? Does de Ploeg translate to the team?
You could.
Yeah.
I think it's more probable that the translation is the plow.
The plow. Okay.
Yeah.
Probably someone was a farmer back in the day when he
Uh-huh.
chose that name, but I don't actually know for sure the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that matches your character? Are you sort of someone who
A
plows
plow?
through it?
I think so, actually. Yeah.
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 Okay. Interesting.
And I can do teamwork too, so
yeah,
it feels
amazing.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll get into the main segment, and then if we want to chat a bit after, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna keep streaming afterwards, so I think maybe Ruben will walk you out, but then we'll
Yeah.
just keep going here.
Yeah.
All right, let me start the recording here. Perfect. Joining us now is Chris de Ploeg. I'm trying to say that correctly. Apologies if I mispronounce. He is the policy officer at de Vonk, and you might recognize him from his book, De Grote Koloniale Oorlog, or in English, which is a bit easier for me, The Great Colonial War. He is also the co-founder of Arles and the Arts of Resistance. Thank you for joining us. Your party, de Vonk, is running to take seats in the Amsterdam Gemeente Council, and you're sitting at the top of the voting list. Just to begin with, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
So obviously, I'm a resident in Amsterdam. I'm not Dutch, so I can't vote for the national elections, but I can vote for the city council.
Yeah.
Because of some EU integration, which is good news for me. And as you might know, my first concern, as most people, is how do I continue to pay for the increasing costs of housing? This year already, my rent has been increased by 6%. And it looks like in my contract that they can do that every year, and my salary is not keeping up.
Yeah.
So what will you do about that?
Yeah, this is indeed, I think, the issue that people are most worried about in Amsterdam. And it's you said entirely correctly. It's not just you. I mean, I'm living with my parents at the moment because it's too expensive, and I'm born and raised here. Many people even leave the city or go to the outskirts or stay with their parents until late 30s.
Yeah.
The waiting list for social housing is like 10 years, if not longer. And even if you get a house now, it's like 1/3 of the households have issues with mold and moisture.
Yeah.
It's absolutely terrible. And actually, Amsterdam is like the worst of the Netherlands, even both in terms of prices, but also in terms of the mold and also quite close in terms of the waiting list. And the thing is, like, it didn't used to be like this.
Right.
In the early 80s, for example, like the average waiting time was more like 3 years for social housing.
Okay.
There was a lot more social housing as a percentage of the housing in Amsterdam as well. And the big sea change that happened is that basically we used to invest massively in social housing through the government. Billions upon billions upon billions. And basically what happened in the 90s is that they privatized this.
Okay.
And this was actually done, and I'll get to what we're going to do, don't worry.
No.
I'm just giving a bit of the context, because then you'll understand also why we have the solution. But basically what happened is that actually the Labour Party, which is now also on the ruling coalition, and D66, which is now also on the ruling coalition of Amsterdam, who claim to be progressive left, and D66 won the national elections by claiming they're gonna build 10 cities, and then later it turned out to be a metaphor.
Yeah, we were live streaming that here, and very quick that they turned around on those policies.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing they had very concrete numbers on very early on was like weapons expenditures, and the rest was like vague promises. But yeah, so basically it's actually those people who privatized. It was a ministry in hands of D66 and PvdA, the Labour Party, which privatized it in the 90s. And since then, there's just no, it's basically the marketplace. And there are still housing corporations who technically need to build social housing, but they don't have any support. And in fact, there was even this huurdersheffing thing in 2012 where it was basically, I mean, it's a bit complicated, but basically it was a fine. It was a certain tax that especially hit like social housing. So no support whatsoever. And there's no plans at all to change this. In fact, we were invited by the so-called left in Amsterdam, like the Green Left and the PvdA and all the other parties, to do like a united letter to the cabinet information to say like, do social policies, build houses, affordable, etc., etc. And then we asked like, okay, can we at least then make it a bit more concrete? Like ask them, okay, most of your parties actually are for militarization, even with very concrete norms like 3.5% military, 5% military. First off, we said that's not realistic. If you want to pay like tens of billions for weapons, how are we going to build the housing? But at least let us also, so that they didn't want to put in. But then we were like, okay, let's say something concrete. Okay, you say a 3.5% norm for weapons. Let's say a 1% norm for building houses.
Crazy,
1% GDP norm. They didn't want to do it, and it's like it's all fairy tales. They promise all kinds of things like, but they don't actually invest in them.
Every time in Europe, and this is, I want to make this emphasis. You might not be from Amsterdam, but these are policies that you'll see reflected everywhere. Every time we need money for war and weapons, there are concrete numbers, as you say. They're going to come exactly from here. They're going to go to this factory, and we're going to produce this weapon and send it to that country, right?
Exactly.
Or keep it in this warehouse. But when it comes to housing or any social programs in general, it's always like, oh, but austerity, we need to cut. There's no money. There's no funding. I just wanted to make that point so that we don't keep it local to Amsterdam.
But they do recognize that there's a need to build the houses. But then, on the other hand, they don't want to commit at all, like not even to 1%, apparently.
Yeah, and so we also, okay, the local, so this was also very interesting because this was actually a letter to the national government information, and locally we actually have very similar plans, but then they always say it's complicated with the municipal taxes. So it was very interesting to see that they also didn't want to do anything very concrete when it came to national, which is not surprising because their own parties like wanted to govern with VVD. I mean, they're so fucking extreme that they don't even want to govern with them, but they were willing to. And of course the PvdA ruled with the VVD in 2010 2012 until 2016 with Mark Rutte. Even after they did the whole shtick of like we found our red roots and the rode veer, as they were saying to.
Did they have some kind of campaign?
Yeah.
I forgot about it already.
Yeah, because the Socialist Party was actually very high in the polls, and like people, it was after the big crisis, the austerity policies, and people wanted to change, and then they were like, "Oh, yeah, okay, we are actually quite leftist now, and vote us to get Rutte out of power," and then they governed.
But
with
that's
Rutte.
yeah.
We mentioned the Dutch elections, right? But we here, what we did for that live stream is we ranked every Dutch party that was running, like on a tier list, and actually, I mean, we didn't place PVV high; it was second to lowest. But underneath PVV was the center right, the Ja 21, Mark Rutte's old party. So there, and the reason why was because they were at least posturing some social left policies. Right? They said they wanted to include dental care in the free healthcare package and so on. So it is interesting that they can see the demand for these sort of policies, and they play off of that.
Yeah, and we do see them, of course, break their promises immediately once they get into power.
Right, of course.
But it is interesting that at least they have the guts to campaign on it.
Which, as you said, the center left or the broad left still does not.
Yeah.
As you were giving this example where you wanted to set a goal, it sounded like, right, or a joint letter.
Yeah. But let's get back to Amsterdam specifically. So okay, they will say, of course, and, there's a partial truth to it. There, most of the taxes are done nationally. It's quite different from like. In the United States, where like the mayor of New York can like decide a shit ton, it's a bit different. But there are some ways to do things also from the municipality. Like there are some taxes that you can use that do not hit. At least generally do not hit the people with the lower incomes. Basically taxes on property, and that's a percentage. So if your house is worth a lot, it will be more. If your house is worth very little, it will mean less. Same goes for businesses. And the other one is tourist taxes. And the same, as it's a percentage of the prices. So for somebody sleeping in a dorm, it has much less impact than for somebody sleeping in the Amstel Hotel, which is like really big. And especially in Amsterdam, the tourism taxes are actually, it's almost like common sense to do it. Like so basically we have a proposal to invest. Actually, we have two tracks in our election program. We have the more radical revolutionary program, which we basically want to disown all the multimillionaires and all the big corporations, and but that will take a bit more movement power to get there. But we think
the long-term vision.
Exactly, but we do think it's important to put that on the table because people need to know what they are fighting for and also why they are not getting what they deserve. Because then also the small victories that we gain are fuel for the bigger movement that we're building, rather than people going home, sitting on their ass, and then 4 years later they turn back the clock and we're back where we started. But we do have also, because we know this critique will come like, oh, okay, but this is not possible within the current rules. So we also have actually, I would say, the best onderbouwd, how do you say that, like substantiated a budget of all the leftist parties in Amsterdam. It's quite detailed. We sat with the officials of the municipality and see how they calculated their impact on taxes and all that stuff. And based on that, we created a budget that even within the current rules, so this was something like the current the municipal government could do tomorrow. And we want to invest about almost a billion extra in massive building of social housing and middle income housing, and massive subsidized food and healthy food through basically communal city gardens and food parks, and also green energy, and the same through cooperatives, and this is entirely possible with not even that radical tax increases. Like what we're proposing is basically it would mean that someone with say a business property worth €1 million, they would pay €100 extra a month, which compared to all their taxes that they're paying to the national government is very little. And the tourism taxes, it sounds a lot like 50%, but for like a dorm, it's like, you know, it would mean 750 extra compared to what's already there. And
how is that?
oh, and I forgot, even that also includes free public transport as one of the big
Nice.
investments that we're doing.
Nice. Nice.
So, but basically, a big part of those investments is hundreds of millions for basically massively building houses. We want to do that. Basically, what the government stopped doing in the 90s, which is having direct, you know, national corporations, so public corporations, investing massively in building affordable housing. We want to start doing that from the municipality, and we can actually make the money available for that. But it's just about political will to actually do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say about this,
Yeah,
which
sorry.
shows you how unwilling these parties are. We didn't even a motion that we filed like last month or 2 months ago, which only suggests, we didn't even say like do it tomorrow. We said let's research the possibilities just to see if, like, you know, maybe they'll have like there's not enough research, or we need to look into okay, we said let's just research it, and they were like, no, they all voted against it. You know, it's like
They don't want to know.
yeah,
Yeah.
they just don't want, because they don't, because if then it turns out that it's feasible, then
Yeah.
they have to do
Then
it.
you have to do
And
it.
They have a
Yeah.
political problem. You
Yeah.
know, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
It sounds like it's doable with these small tax increases. Let's say
Yeah.
one small question, and then I have a bigger challenge. But
Yeah.
when is the tourism tax applied? So is that when you book a spot to sleep? Like if my friend comes from Antwerp and wants to stay a night in my house, does he have to pay a tax?
No, of course.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That's commercial tourism.
Okay.
No.
So-
Someone's just visiting you. They're not paying shit.
So
Yeah.
only when you book a hotel. Let's
Yes,
say.
actually, yeah. To be more specific, the tourist tax, you're right. It's
Yeah.
a good question. It's basically for overnight stays,
Uh-huh.
which is sold. So commercial overnight stays.
Uh-huh.
There's already a 12.5% tax on that. And we want to raise it to 50. And
So it's a doubling, and then it would be on a like a hostel 750 right now, and then
yeah,
750
so
extra
someone
per
who's
night.
paying. So let's say the kale prijs, the pre-tax rate is like 20 euros.
Mhm.
That would mean that you already pay. I'm now doing it by heart, but I think it was about 250. So then it becomes 2250 already. What it is now.
Yeah.
Actually, there's already the BTW, national BTW. It's going to be added. We don't even, you know, add the 50% on that. So
Yeah.
it would already be like 25 or something like that. I think a little more.
Yeah.
And then based on ours, it would be 750 extra.
Okay.
So in the overall price, it's not even 50%. You know?
Yeah.
And to be fair, like I would prefer obviously directly taxing, like based on like, you know, people's vermogen, wealth. And really directly targeting the most wealthy tourists. Obviously, that would be a better option. That's not in the cards within the current rules. We do have those more radical plans. For
the
that, we
future.
need a bit more movement power,
Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
building that. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's gonna tie into some questions later as well.
Yeah.
But one challenge then, because you also mentioned New York there, and that makes me think of Mandami, of course.
Yeah, sure.
His solution was freeze the rent. I mean,
Yeah.
he had other solutions that are similar to yours, but I don't know if it's because he has different powers. But he came with freeze the rent as the main solution. And also, when we look at social housing, the Netherlands is still the European country which has the highest percentage of social housing. So, is this? Do you think this solution might be falling a bit short, or is it just the best that you can do within the cards that you hold right now?
Basically the latter.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is exactly why we have the 2-track program.
Yeah.
Because we can definitely, like, there are more empty houses right now in Amsterdam than there are homeless people.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, these massive, you know, investment funds, even like American investment funds like Blackstone or like the fucking Prince Bearmart are like buying all these houses. Like, that's something. If you would target them, disown them, don't pay them a fee for that, we could solve this problem very easily. But we don't have those same powers that the mayor in New York has.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
So those are you can actually disown people, but then you have to pay them, which we're not in favor of.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's what they're doing right now, actually, in part, you know, in small scale, but they're doing some of that.
So short term, what is possible, what you're suggesting right now is a little more taxes on tourism, which means less tourists, which, by the way, even us expats or immigrants or whatever you call us, we also complained about tourism.
Yeah.
So I think Amsterdam will be fine without the amount of commercial tourism you're saying.
Even to be more specific, with the 50% increase, by the calculation methods of the municipal government itself, we would still get almost 20 million tourists a year in Amsterdam. We have less than 1 million citizens. And this is in fact the goal that the municipal government set for itself and is never
it
achieved.
anyways wants to have we anyways actually kind of need to regulate tourism a bit. As long as my cousin can still come visit me from Stockholm or whatever, then I'm happy, especially if that means we can build housing. Maybe Barcelona should
and of course
this.
like hotels aren't houses, but still tourists also take rooms, they take beds, and if this room becomes available, there's more room for people who actually live in the city.
So next thing, I was born in Denmark, so I am familiar with a fully socialized healthcare system, and it was an absolute beauty. Me, my family, whoever, you go to the doctor, you come out, you don't pay anything. Now, obviously, I understand that this might also be another situation where it's decided nationally. Is there anything you can do inside of healthcare? Because I was looking through the Vonk's pamphlets, and I think this one was not mentioned as much.
In fact, I'll be entirely honest. I don't know all the details about this topic. This the thing about being listener, you need to know about everything. It doesn't always work like that. I do know there were some ideas to at least make sure that, for example, the municipal government can. Right now, there's this eigen risico, own risk, that people pay up to 380 euros a month, which is basically, I think, a fine on being sick. Especially for people with like chronic issues, it's like fucking ridiculous. Like
every year you have to
pay. I think that's absolutely terrible, and there are ideas that maybe the municipal government can reimburse them. I do think like actual complete socialized healthcare is something that needs to be done nationally. I know one of our the faction leader right now, who's in the council, JC Veldhuizen, had a very detailed proposal also, because some of the problems also with police violence, police intimidation, and profiling are also basically that often there are a lot of people who are confused because they don't have good access to healthcare, and then there are not a lot of healthcare workers that they immediately call the police for just people who are confused. So there were some ideas to make sure that at least some funding becomes available to make sure that they can. But I'll be honest, right now we don't have the same skill and ambitious plans that we have for the other affordable. I actually, it's good that you mentioned this. I will maybe get back to you later about this and ask my colleagues.
There are some targeted like problem areas that you could do on the local level as well, because there's so much people that live in Amsterdam without actually being registered in Amsterdam as well, and also they don't have a GP, and GP access is terrible in Amsterdam. So
we are working already. I do know there is actually there is something called the Hippocratic Oath. So technically,
a lot of doctors seem to forget about it. So, but it exists.
It does exist. Well, it's a two-way problem actually.
Super quick. He's a doctor, by the way, so that's why he's talking like this.
No, but this is very important actually, because we do have a proposal on this. To be fair, there already is some action on this from the municipality as well. But there needs to be much more knowledge, both on the side of the doctors, but also especially on documented people who think they don't have access to healthcare while they actually have a right to it. So it needs to be claimed more often, and the people who offer it need to know that they actually have to do it.
But it's become really like normalized to just refuse people if they don't have insurance. And it's crazy.
Is that illegal, you're saying, in the Netherlands, in theory, or?
In theory, everyone has a right to access to care, so in that sense, but there's not a law being broken if you refuse someone for care, only maybe a professional standard, but nobody is ever corrected on this, because the people who get refused are never in a position to
pursue it, let's say, legally, right? Okay, that makes sense. you mentioned transportation already, so I mean free transportation, that was going to be my next ask. Again, following I think so many people in the world saw Mamdani win, and they were like, wait, we can do those things through a city level. We don't even have to win the national elections. So I'll skip transportation. More.
I just wanted to know, was it included in the 1 billion you mentioned, or was the 1 billion specifically for housing?
No. The 1 billion includes housing, free public transport. Those are the two biggest ones. Then the food and energy are big ones as well. And then actually we had also free schooling for people who want to work in the actually good sectors of the economy rather than like for, I don't know, banks and weapon industry or whatever. So we want, if we're gonna build all those houses, if we're gonna build all those food gardens, if we're gonna build all that green energy, people need to do that work, and we want people to be able to do that work. So we want free schooling for that, and preferably we would in the long term end up with a kind of meaningful job guarantee. That requires some work on the municipal level, but that's what we want to work towards.
Okay, I'm finding it hard to challenge you here because my next question was, okay, what about education? We see all these cuts on the national level at universities. We also see a lot of animosity all of a sudden towards English speaking university programs. That's how I entered the country. So okay, you have these more specific, let's say, education programs. Is there anything you can do on a more general level to restore funding for universities or even public schooling?
Again, I think this is a little tricky in terms of like directly funding schools and universities, because this is done very much at the national level. But in terms of like professional education programs, like teaching people a profession, like setting up food gardens and things like this, I think there is a lot possible that we can fund through the municipality. But of course there is one thing you can always do. Even on the national policy, you can put quite some pressure. Like there are direct lines of communication with all the other municipalities, with the big municipalities, and they have a straight line of communication with the central government. So there's also, you can politicize these things much more. You can, like, actually it's a standard thing we do in almost every motion. So when they say like we can't do this nationally, we say, okay, at least like fight for it, Right. It's like one of the things with the, for example, the militarization. We can do some things, by the way, on militarization on local level. We did file those motions as well. I can go into that. But the other big thing is just, but not on the budget level. That's the problem. That's decided nationally. But then you can at least, fight for it. But they don't want to do it.
No, like in the era of Donald Trump, right? Like leading the U.S., the idea that you shall not fight at every single point where you can, and also where you cannot, in theory, fight, is ridiculous.
I agree.
The right wing goes and they do it no matter what is in their way.
Exactly.
Why are we always so afraid to move?
I 100% agree. This is the thing. Like, if all those rules have been written by the capitalists, by the colonizers,
right,
and like they exist for a reason. And we shouldn't treat them as some fucking sacred, Bible
change
them from heaven.
Change them, go around them, confront them directly.
Exactly.
Just like the other side does all the time.
I 100% agree. And then you put it on the table, and they can be changed, those rules. And then it becomes a debate, and then people start thinking like, why is my government actually not doing this?
Why is there a rule that says if you want to do something good, you're not allowed to, right?
Exactly. Like, you need to politicize these things. And if you constantly play within the rules, then it doesn't work. But there's a reason they don't do it, because even, as I said, within the rules, they often don't want to do it either. So that's what it is.
I think it's kind of like the Democrats right over there, that they're very comfortable. They enjoy not being allowed to make change, because then they can't be held accountable.
I will say a few things about education though, apart from the budget cuts, because there's obviously another huge part of higher education at the moment. I think actually they're very linked. I think the massive Palestine movement and the massive budget cuts in education are no coincidence.
That's interesting. That one I haven't heard yet,
I think it's very obvious that generally in higher education, people tend to be a bit more leftist. They're a bit more...
I was in the Amsterdam... Well, let's not say I was in there, but I was friends with people who were in there. at the Amsterdam UvA
Yeah.
camps.
Yeah.
Also when the police came
Yeah.
and beat the living
Yeah.
shit out of them.
Yeah.
But there is a truth there that across all universities in Europe, it was the international, let's say, cohort. And obviously they had a lot of support from local.
Yeah.
I know there's a strong, almost Palestine action sort of group in Amsterdam as well, who's fully local. But these two coming together is really what created the bigger movement of the encampments. So it's interesting that you're saying that the reason they're trying to cut down university budgets is because of this as well.
I think so. I think it's very, and this is not the only thing. There have been longer like battles between kind of the university and but this is obviously the most central issue that of the last 2 years. That has been some of the strongest protest movements of the last 2 years, and we get an extremely Zionist government who basically just wants to sabotage this and is done with all these kind of lefties at the university, saying things about human rights.
So annoying, huh?
Yeah, it's so annoying. Yeah, I mean, they teach people about human rights there, so then they're like, oh, my government's not doing it. But and there, I think the local government plays a huge role, actually, because in the end, we decide, of course, when to use violence. Of course, to be fair, this is not only the mayor deciding. This is in collaboration with the public prosecutor and the police, but she has a very big role. And we do know that they have decided to use violence many times, and in some cases even illegally. Like the first eviction of the first encampment, which was just on a green grass in public space. Later, the OM, the public prosecutor, said that actually they were allowed to be there. And I met some of those students. They, people literally like skulls were cracked in. A skull was cracked in with the police bat, and like this was very extreme violence. And it's not just that the mayor is setting the police on these people, which is already terrible enough. But then she hides on like, I'm just enforcing the law, which is not actually true in this case. But even if that were true, she does not have to defend police violence.
Right.
And we see her do this again and again and again.
Consistently.
Quite consistently. In fact, becoming very, very angry. I rarely see her so passionate. I never saw her so passionate actually about the genocide. But I saw her very passionate when one of her counselors said that after the Maccabi riots, there was a demo and they beat somebody to a bloody pulp. And then she was so mad, and it later turned out that she had permanent brain damage, and she lied actually about that she wasn't even hit by police and she just fell. And we were lucky enough that Left Laser caught very good footage of that, showing exactly what happened.
Amazing.
And maybe she didn't lie straight through her teeth. Maybe she just heard what the police told her and just believed them. I don't even care. It's like, it's your job to know this shit that the police is constantly lying. Like, how long do we know that there has been police violence? Like, Control-Alt-Delete has been documenting this for so long. There's been so many racist
It's annoying
problems
with judges and the justice system in general that you know that the police consistently lies, but their word is treated as the absolute truth at all times.
And even if she wanted to play like the neutral mayor, she could have said like, okay, that would be weak, but still she could have said like, investigation is ongoing. We'll get back to it.
That's the center left position usually. It's like, how unfortunate, we will investigate and do nothing. To challenge you a bit there, I did some reading on the the Amsterdam council system. So the mayor is not elected directly through democracy, right? And the mayor is the one who is, let's say, the head of the police in the end, right? So they decide what to do in circumstances of public disorder. They decide when a protest crosses the line to riot and what sort of police response to give, which is why we're putting the blame on the Amsterdam mayor. But if even in the best case scenario, let's say you guys get 44 seats in the council, you get 100% of the votes, would she still be in charge of the police? And how long until you could... Like, how does that power dynamic look like? Is there a power struggle?
I do believe that technically there is a vote on the mayor from the council. She is, though, also appointed by the king.
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure that legally speaking, they can literally disband the council if they want to, if they don't like it, and basically put an unelected mayor there. In fact, there has been precedent for this. This happened in the early 50s in Finsterwolde, which is a small municipalities where something like this happened, because the communists there got a majority of seats in the municipality.
That was my next question.
And then basically they did a lot of social policies, but the straw that broke the camel's back, it's almost funny if it wasn't so terrible. Like, they didn't even do something so radical. They just gave some welfare benefits to like strikers who were fired because of their strikes, and all they wanted was like, I think they had to work on the weekends, which they didn't want to. It was something like that. I don't remember the details, but because of that, they just disbanded the council, put an unelected mayor there from the central government, who was, by the way, Labour Party, the Social Democrats.
There you go.
And basically ruled as a dictator. But the thing is, we actually mention this specifically in our election program, and this is exactly why we have a two-track program, because we are not going to win this battle only by legal means. Like, the whole problem is that in the end, these rules have been written by the rich and the powerful.
Just a quick interjection there to clarify a bit. So if people democratically take control of their own little town or gemeente or city and start to implement anti-capitalist rule, then the state maintains the right to disband the local council and put in their own mayor, as they did in this case. And then they say, instead of all this genuine leftism, why don't you take the social democrat? Why don't you take the the usual center left, who of course will not allow for genuine worker strikes and these movements that go against capitalism, right? So what is the do you foresee an issue there? Because one thing that I saw in your pamphlet is that you also want to potentially kick out some of the arm manufacturers or at least their offices, that those who have offices in Amsterdam. That, for example, I could see once you start pushing on the military side of the political discussion, or even the military function of the country. That's where I could see the state stepping in and saying, okay, now we're going to appoint through the king our own mayor, and you're not going to be allowed to do this, because that's a very sensitive spot for this imperial structure, right?
Yeah, but I mean, this comes a little bit to, like, do we want actual change or not? And the first step is to demand it, and the second step is to build the movements that are powerful enough that they don't have a choice. Like, if we are strong enough that we can basically, if they put that unelected mayor in Amsterdam, that we can shut down the entire economy, then they can try all they want. It's not gonna work. And this is the whole point of why we actually we have a very unconventional election program. If you read it, it's like half of it is not like normally they only have like, we want to implement these policies and that's it. But we all know, like, it's not, you're not going to do it anyways. You're not going to be able to do it anyway. So the key question is how are we actually going to change these things that we can actually do it? So we offer much more also strategic thinking in our kind of strategic roadmap. And for us, like, the seats in the council are not like the end goal, because we know there are limits to what we can achieve there, and there will be some things that we can achieve there. But then, as I said before, those are fuel for building the movement. Like, it's a bigger stage, you get a lot of more reach, it's much easier to build a party that way, because a lot of people think it's more relevant or important, or think there's more energy there. But it's very important that all that energy, you bring it back into the party and you actually organize people, and they are in all those community centers, in those neighborhoods, in those places where people are striking, or in the unions, that you educate your cadre, your members, that you really invest in that. And that is actually a much more important goal than necessarily getting 40 seats. We do want those 40 seats eventually, but it needs to be done in a way that you can actually take and maintain power. And not just be sabotaged.
I think, just to make a bigger point here, I mean, what we see so often from the anti or pro-Israel movement in the Netherlands as well, Ruben, you have a lot of experience with this. Whatever move you make as a Palestine protester, pro-Palestine protester, whatever incremental change you achieve, they have an immediate response ready to go that is coordinated between the media, a politician, maybe even the police, and they come unified immediately as if they had already thought of what they would do beforehand. So I like that you bring up strategic thinking, and I would challenge all leftists to continue that sort of logic. How do we look 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in advance? And when the mayor steps in, which I think will likely happen at some point, to stop any genuine change like this, what are we prepared to do, and what is the plan then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And in that sense, you know, this whole election thing, every campaign is nothing more than a stepping stone, you know. Like it's really about building the movement infrastructure that can actually implement real change. And every little victory, every campaign, every seat, every, you know, those are also opportunities to plug people, to educate people, to organize people, to build the party, to build the movements that are on our side. And that's how you build bottom-up power, and that's what we really need.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm thinking actually like an electoral victory can sometimes be even detrimental to a movement, right? So if we look at the national elections, when we see how many people came to the Rode Lijn protest and everything, a lot of those people probably voted for Rob Jetten, and they were happy that he got so many seats. And then they were like, now we can relax again because he's going to fix it for us. And I've noticed it with myself as well, seeing like people that inspire me or that like go to the council, they go for elections, and then some voice inside you says, this person is going to fix it. But it's important that we all stay involved, even if we have an electoral victory, even if we have a lot of seats.
You can't stay comfortable. Just to touch again on that very sensitive topic, let's say, but there's obviously a genocide going on in Gaza. I think it's still ongoing. And one of the things that caught my eye, especially with what I read from you guys, is this idea to not allow Amsterdam to be complicit or give space to those who are complicit in this genocide. Can you speak a bit more on what the plan is there?
Well, I mean, let's start concretely with how Amsterdam is complicit. So the Netherlands is the biggest investor in Israel in the entire world, even more than the United States.
Okay.
Really, really massive. A very large part of that goes through letterbox companies at the Zuidas in Amsterdam. So we are very complicit in that regard, but also more specifically with the municipality. The municipality itself, like our entire digital technological ecosystem, is run by American companies who are also on the BDS list, who have contracts with like the Israeli military or the police or the prisons. We're talking about Microsoft, we're talking about Dell, we're talking about HP. So a very basic first step would be to implement BDS from the municipality. From there, you can also move, I think, legally speaking, you know, of course, this we put in our election. If it's up to us, we just close down all those letterbox companies. We nationalize all the banks. Booking is gone from Amsterdam. But okay, let's play their game. What's possible legally? So I'm talking actually. What I'm saying now, by the way, are very concrete proposals. We also already filed motions on in the city council. So this is like within the rules now. So you can, of course, decide not to fucking buy, thing. In fact, their own policies, officially, they have a human rights policy of where they buy. So according to their own policies, they should be dumping those corporations and dumping those contracts. And in fact, also, it's not only a human rights issue. I mean, it's also like
sovereignty nowadays.
Sovereignty. Like the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court was thrown out of his email because Trump put sanctions on him. They can do the same to us. And the funny thing is, when we say this, the mayor just doesn't take us seriously. It's like she pretends like it's ridiculous that we even ask it. And then we're like, but you literally did the same with Chinese cameras. And in fact, with Chinese cameras, that was not like a software operating system. Those were just physical cameras. It was hardware. And there was only a theoretical chance that maybe there was some back entry thing that they could spy. And then I'm like, okay, this is theoretical, completely theoretical, and it's not the core of your system. It's just some cameras here and there, and with something that's concrete, like they literally threw out the chief prosecutor of the ICC, and he's openly talking about invading NATO, and then you're just like, whatever.
But this speaks to the root of how the stupidity of Europeans and the cowardice. Because absolutely. The reason why the mayor thinks that way, like it is absurd in her worldview that we would ever make a decision that would go against the wants of Donald Trump and of the US. So why would we ever, need to defend ourselves against the Americans? It just feels like a crazy idea to them. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, after supporting imperial action after imperial action, war after war, then all of a sudden the US turns their guns towards us. Yeah. And then all of a sudden Denmark is standing there like, what? We have to defend against the Americans? We would have never thought about this because we always give them everything they want.
And still they're in denial.
And still they are in denial, yeah.
They're talking about a threat from Russia and China for Greenland suddenly?
It's insane. So it's insane.
It's propaganda. It's becoming like satire,
I actually wanted to go there if you still have time for maybe another 20 minutes or something.
No problem.
I wanted to look at the European scale, right? So as a larger image, first of all, are you also Vonk? Is your party Vonk also running on a national level, or is it only in council?
For now, we're only local.
Okay.
We are very much Amsterdam based. We are also very loyal to the city of Amsterdam. But of course, many of the problems that we face are global problems. So if we do well in Amsterdam, if we have a solid basis here, step for step, we might grow into different cities and eventually nationally. But it's important for us that we do it step by step, because we do see that I won't name any names, but some parties that wanted to grow very quickly and then completely collapsed because organizationally it was not well set up.
Right.
And as I said before, for us it's really not about getting a person in city council. The organizational matter is absolutely vital. If that's not in order, the whole thing is useless.
Yeah, and in leftist politics, we see so much infighting, so many power struggles.
Yeah.
It seems like in any country, by the way, it's like a constant theme. So please be careful with that organization. keep it close to your heart so it doesn't fall apart.
Absolutely agree.
But let's say in an ideal world, I would want to be able to vote for you guys in the European elections. So just out of interest, do you happen to what would your plans be for let's say Europe in general? Like, are you a person that sees us moving more towards a federation, or are you more the 80s 90s hardline leftist who would rather keep sovereignty and keep, let's say, communal rule of our own laws?
Okay, I'm going off the...
this is outside of Amsterdam now.
Yeah. So this is just my personal views.
Yeah.
I know there's these big debates. This is not necessarily my main expertise, but my sense is that the EU is unreformable, that it was always a neoliberal right-wing project.
Okay.
That the attempts to reform it have utterly failed. We saw what they did with Greece. We saw what they did in general with Southern Europe.
Yeah.
It has been a vehicle for just pushing massive austerity. We see them even, some talk about, but then we can be an independent power. But in fact, these EU officials are the most bootlicking pro-American politicians that we have ever seen. Yeah. So I'm very, very skeptical that it is reformable. In theory, it might be possible if you get like some, revolutionary situation, like maybe, right after the First World War, and it's like kicking off everywhere at the same time. And, maybe then something like a federational model, and maybe it could be possible, but it feels a bit like a theoretical discussion at the moment, because we are not in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
And I do think any really transformative policies will not be possible at the moment within the EU. I do understand that there are some technical matters to consider, because of course there are like the right-wing politicians who want to get out of the EU because they want to do even worse, because there are like some basic human rights policies in place within the EU, like the European Court that is often used. And the far right obviously wants to get rid of that. So I do think there are like tactical considerations. It depends on the country in the specific moment and the specific campaign.
Yeah.
But in general, I am very skeptical of a reform to EU at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fully get the reflex to. You said it very well, that it's a neoliberal institution, much like many political institutions in Europe.
Yeah.
But let's say in a perfect world, on a wider image, do you think we can defend ourselves against the Americans or potentially the Israelis? Because like Israel will attack anyone who goes against their agenda. So if we take power and we actually start harming the Israeli economy and maybe even their military, then of course we will have a lot of serious enemies. So is that something that Denmark or the Netherlands can defend alone, or do you need, or do you see some sort of pact being necessary within Europe at least?
Well, I mean, this is essentially the problem that a lot of countries in the world face, right? It's just like, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome to reality.
Fair.
So obviously, yes, you need pacts, and but not just within Europe. Probably, like you need to start aligning with the countries of the world that are against like random invasions with unipolarity and aggression, and so these are the same dilemmas that a lot of countries in the global south have been facing for a long time. Probably I can imagine, there are like radical ideas, like any real radical project obviously also needs like regional integrated economies, and this has been also a leftist project within Latin America, for example, within the left side, and the they are also talking about uniting. So in that sense, of course, like you can't really go at it alone. But for me, it's just like it feels sometimes like a very theoretical discussion when I see the actual governments right now are all like licking American boots, so that you can't really.
They are not moving one inch. They are not reconsidering any strategic.
And I do think there can be different constellations that those kind of collaborations are possible, right? It doesn't have to be NATO. Even the US is in it, so it's a bit ridiculous. I think we definitely need to abolish NATO. I think it's utterly, totally unreformable. With that, I don't have a nuanced answer for you. It's just from start to finish terrible. But you could create different alliances, right? Like it's but again, I think this is really like as we say in Marxism, sometimes it's a concrete analysis for a concrete situation. So it really depends on the concrete situation and the kind of governments that are then in power in Europe. And if you can build good alliances to build sovereignty there, why not? Of course.
Yeah. I think that's the most political answer you've given, but
politically correct.
Like politician. Why?
Yeah.
But I don't blame you. I mean, you're running for Amsterdam. I just wanted to get your take on the big pictures here in Europe. Last question: why vote for Vonk and not some of the other leftist parties that we have? Because there are some good options, I would say, especially on the municipal level. A few. What sets you apart?
Yeah, I think a couple of things set us apart. I think we are literally the only one with an actual concrete revolutionary strategy. I think we are the only ones that, some people will disagree with this from those other parties, but this is my opinion, the only ones that really want to invest in the education and organization of our members. I know there are some parties that might have had a history in the past or that might attract a lot of activists, but I don't think are actually doing a lot anymore outside of election time. Or if they are, then it's mostly constant infighting and things falling apart and things like that. I think we have a problem with I was trying to do this without naming any names, but but so like basically most of the larger leftist parties basically have gone along with all the racism and xenophobia and even Zionism for a long time. They are big backpedaling a little bit on that, but I don't think you can really trust them. Like when the heat turns up, when it becomes difficult, and a very good example is the Maccabi riots, actually.
Yeah.
We were really the only ones in the council at that moment, like instantly from day one, pushing the exact opposite narrative from the mainstream media and saying exactly what was going on,
which is insane, because everyone who was in the street that day, we all reported the same thing. It's not like it happened in a faraway land. It was here in our streets. We saw it.
Exactly.
We were scared.
And we already saw it coming as well, right?
Yeah.
We actually talked about this in the commission as well beforehand. We were warning for this. But even actually Denk, which, you know, I know their list leader, I know they've been in a lot of ways good on Palestine, but even they were quite moderate and subdued in the first days, because it's intense, like everybody's like everybody was talking about a pogrom and anti-Semitism, and you know, you need to have some guts to then just go like, no, actually
it's a lot more convenient as a politician to abandon your people in that moment and say, I'm not going to stand up when everyone is shouting about anti-Semitism. I'm not going to stand up and defend the supposed anti-Semites. I would rather abandon my people and join the narrative, right? Or at least stay neutral. So a lot of respect.
In fact, our city councillor was on that banned demo where that, you know, random shopping lady who was on the wrong place at the wrong time was beaten to a bloody pulp. And I think that demonstration ban was very likely illegal, by the way. There is a court case going on now about that, because they said it was too dangerous, but the danger was already gone. It was coming from Maccabi. And even if we would go along with their bullshit narrative, the other people were targeting Maccabi. So it's like there definitely wasn't a danger. In fact, it was so ridiculous. They even at some point, there was actually anti-Zionist Jewish Kristallnacht commemoration. And the police, and they were worried about their safety, and the police was like, we're worried about the pro-Palestine protesters, and they were like, and the anti-fascists, and they were like, this is a Kristallnacht-herdenking, like, we are anti-fascist. I fucking hope you're anti-fascist, you know, like, but this is how they are taught, huh?
It was the same with the Concertgebouw when the anti-Zionist Jews were there, right? The same kind of dynamic.
You constantly have this going on, but about the difference with the other parties. So I think it's about the revolutionary perspective, the movement building, the combining. So for example, Denk, I think, is really good on at least targeting Islamophobia and Zionism, which is very, very important. And the reason they exist is because of the complete failure of the left, and not just the Social Democrats, although actually the Socialist Party now are also basically Social Democrats, but they had potential to be something else, and they have for a long time abandoned migrants. So I really respect why they exist. At the same time, I think what we need in the Netherlands is something more like a PvdA België, which you know, takes a very strong class line, very strong Marxist line, is very much like speaking to the issues that speak to everyone. Like, we need houses above our heads, we need food on the table, we need an affordable city, but at the same time is willing to be there when people are oppressed, when there's racism, when there's a genocide in Palestine, and it doesn't back down, and it has a backbone there as well. And it's like not either or, and I think something like that is lacking in the Netherlands, and I hope the Vonk can become something like that.
Beautifully said. We need roofs over our heads, we need houses to sleep in, we need food to put on the table, and we need a doctor to go to when we feel sick. And the only ones we haven't tried out yet are the Marxists, and historically these are the only ones who will deliver this. Thank you for joining. I appreciate your time, and I think you've won my vote. So on March 28th, was it?
18th.
On March 18th, I will be going out to vote for the Vonk, and I hope you guys consider doing that as well.
Many thanks. Appreciate it.
Hopefully I see you around in one of the demonstrations.
For sure. Thanks.
Do you mind if we just ask you to walk yourself out, or is that?
I can walk with him. Okay. Yeah.
I could. No problem either way.
Because then we're gonna keep going here with another.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay. Good luck, and thanks for hosting. Appreciate coming.
Take care. All right. So that was one last time for the people online. That was Chris de Ploeg. I will learn that name one day. How to say it? The Dutch name. Yeah, this is yeah. You can
Aren't the Danish names just as difficult?
They can be. They definitely can be. Yeah.
I recently saw Rasmussen again.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see him again.
Rasmussen.
Yeah.
Which Rasmussen?
The ex-Secretary General of NATO and ex-Prime Minister of Denmark. This one. This is the only Rasmussen I know.
Yeah.
But
No, I always think of Anders Fogh because he was the Prime Minister in those days.
Who?
Anders Fogh. He was called. He's also come out recently again. He's endorsing the what's it called, the peace plan in Gaza, and the new peace board that they're constructing. Yeah, we're actually gonna go next. We do have Denmark to talk about, but I think we should first look at the love letters that the European leaders have been sending to Donald Trump.
Why are we cucked? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I hope you like my title.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what it is.
Yeah. I need to check really quickly here if we are still live because I think the frames dropped. Luckily, everything is recorded. No, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Strange. Yeah, I took out my phone because I was hoping to get some questions live from the viewers, but my phone is not wanting to open it. Yeah. Are you ready to jump into the next topic?
Yeah,
should we
go?
Let me just open this. Looks good. Oh, we had a few comments here. Please shed the light on Israel and ongoing attacks. And yeah, we're gonna get to Israel.
Shed light on Israel. Okay.
Housing is a supply and demand issue. Yeah, sorry, I would have told you these questions live, but I couldn't get it up. But just know that people were listening and they were asking a few questions. So yeah. No, I think we're good. But
okay.
But thanks for joining. Okay. See you next time.
Bye.
All right. Let's get into the next ones. Let me finish this. Let's see. Housing is a supply and demand issue. With birth rates having been below replacement for generations, demand would not be an issue if you didn't import millions of non-citizens. So this is
not completely true because the number of people per household has really dramatically dropped since the 60s. So in the 60s it was still very usual to live with 6 or 8 people per household.
Yeah.
And now I think the average is like 1.5 or 2. So
yeah. This is your classic viewer who is saying basically that immigration is why we have a housing issue.
Yeah.
It is a supply and demand issue, but here's the problem. If you ask me, the demand is artificially high because housing is a speculative asset instead of being houses. So people are using it as stocks, right? And by the way, I didn't get to ask Chris, but I imagine he would agree. The long-term solution is to ban housing as a speculative asset. You should not be able to own a house that you don't live in, or at least not more than 2. Okay, maybe if you want a summer house, that's okay, but more than that is getting greedy. And by the way, I made this point in a comment section that got quite some likes. The blaming migrants once they are here for the housing crisis is insane. In case you haven't talked to a migrant, right? They don't want to come and live in Europe just like that. Okay, it's not random. They don't wake up one day and say, I want to go and live in the most racist country I can find, have trouble getting benefits, and have all of society looking down on me and blaming all of their problems on me, right? It's honestly like blaming the Jews for overpopulating Auschwitz, you know? You go and you bomb them, you destroy their way of life, so that you force them to leave their countries, and then when they come to the only place where there's not war and climate change and all of these things destroying life, then at that point you step in and you say, oh, how dare you come here? If Europe got out of Africa, if Europe got out of South America, there would be no need for
if Libya didn't fall, if Syria didn't fall, there would be like hundreds of thousands
being bombed, right? If all of these countries that we constantly bomb were not being bombed by Europeans, there would be no need for non-Europeans to move to Europe.
But also there's partly a problem with the definition or what people consider immigrants, because some of these people who make this argument, if you go into it and you ask them, they will say all refugees are immigrants, that's one, but then also all working migrants who a lot of them actually go back after some time. They are also considered immigrants. And also all the children of the people who immigrated here in the 60s and the 50s and their children, so their grandchildren, they are Moroccan, so they are not Dutch, so they are immigrants, which is obviously false. But if you consider all of these people immigrants, then removing them would remove like 3 to 4 million people from this country. And then obviously the housing crisis would be solved.
No,
but
it would not, because under capitalism, the houses would still be bought up by the people who have money. And that's not you, motherfucker, because you're broke, like me.
They might resort to like buying the house and keeping it empty, or destroying housing to keep the shortage intact, maybe even.
They will do whatever they have to for you to barely be able to afford housing, because then they can make more money. Because if it's hard for you to afford something and you are desperate, then your demand becomes inelastic. If you have a lot of different choices and you can choose not to buy a house or buy a house, then if the price goes up, you're not going to buy it. But if you're in a desperate situation and you have no other choice, then no matter what the price is, you will still buy it, and they will make the most amount of money.
And that's also another part of it, like having other options, because in many countries, if you would go to Romania or Bosnia or Poland, you would be able to drive out of the city, find some plot of land that doesn't cost that much because it's just a piece of land that nobody is using. And then you can buy some stuff and build a house. But here, that's impossible. Exactly. That's not one of the options.
Exactly. I think, at some point I'm gonna bring a whiteboard and I'm gonna draw the demand and supply line, because I did take economics and it's really not that difficult. And the right wing loves to say it's supply demand. And I'm gonna show you exactly why housing issues will not be solved by getting rid of immigration.
Maybe we can prove even that the supply and demand, no matter what, it keeps intersecting at the point of maximum profit for the owners.
That's also true.
And then we can like substantiate our point pretty good, maybe.
Two more one more comment here that just said y'all smoke weed. I don't know, do we?
Not today.
You live chatters are maybe for April 20th we can do a stream where we
must say having all these crazy ideas and perspectives, I can attribute some of it to smoking weed. Yes.
Yeah, so maybe you'll be become more. No, I'm not gonna endorse doing anything on that. Okay. All right, let's get into the next topic here, guys. We're gonna get into the European love letters to Trump. This is gonna be we're gonna go back into recording mode, but feel free to comment in the chat. I see 3 of you are still here. Some people are coming in and out. So if you have a question, ask us and I will answer it live. I'm sorry I couldn't do it before with Chris. But I found it now, so don't be shy. All right, let me click again. Start recording. Amazing. Donald Trump seems to be more and more serious about his ideas of dividing and conquering Europe. He wants to invade Greenland. He wants to become buddies with Vladimir Putin, and he also has this infamous document that leaked, where he details how he wants to split Europe into two, one being the old neoliberals and the other being the more fascist, alt-right, anti-immigration, pro-sovereignty countries. And he basically wants Italy, Hungary, Poland, and Austria to be the fascist countries that side with him.
They already are.
They already are. Never forget when somebody tells you that they support sovereignty and that's why they vote for the alt-right, what they really mean is that they support giving away your country to the Americans. Anyways, the response from Europe has been hilarious. It's been laughable. So what we're gonna do today is just go through all of the different text messages that Donald Trump leaked, which just that on its own, by the way, the disrespect that this man has for our leaders is crazy. Like, you can't even send him a text message as the president of a country and not have him publish it on the internet. He's laughing at you.
Yeah.
He's saying, "Oh,
But
Yeah, like-
these are the parts of Trump that I actually kind of like.
Yeah, of course, it's kind of interesting. But so yeah, we thanks to Donald Trump, we got a little insight into how our leaders talk in private. And I think we should start with Macron here. How good is your eyesight? Because I might struggle to read this.
It's pretty good.
Let's
You're
see.
wearing glasses.
Yeah, this is actually this is fine.
Should I do the reading then, maybe?
Yeah, if you want, but are you gonna do from Macron's voice?
This is
This is Macron. This is Macron. Yeah.
My friend, we are totally in line on Syria. We can do greetings on Iran. I do not understand what are you doing in Greenland. Let us try to build greetings.
Okay, pause. We are totally in line on Syria.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Okay, so right away we see from the Europeans, right? And this is Macron again saying, we are totally in line on what you're doing on the world stage.
Yeah.
We agree that international law means nothing. We agree with what you're doing in Syria, also in Iran, right? We want...
Also Iran. Oh my God.
He's right here, right?
And he doesn't mention Venezuela. Okay, clear.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention Palestine, right?
No.
I think he might after, but in any case, just showing you again that on the principles of international law, he is completely in line with Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, but I'm so confused. Why are you doing this in Greenland, you know? Monsieur, pourquoi in Greenland? You know? And you're like, the reason he's doing this in Greenland is because you supported him in doing it in Syria.
He's not being inconsistent. He's being completely consistent.
You are the one being inconsistent. And no wonder that you're confused, right?
Yeah.
Macron. Yeah. Insane. Okay. Next line here if you want to take over.
Let's try again. I can set up a G7 meeting after Davos in Paris on Thursday afternoon. I can invite the Ukrainians, the Danish, the Syrians, the Russians in the margin. in the margins. The Russians should be in the margins, apparently.
Yeah.
Let us have dinner together in Paris, together on Thursday, before you go back to the US.
And after dinner, I can show you what the French man can do.
He just says Emmanuel as a sign-off.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. I would have expected like
Yeah,
an emoji
love,
or love Emmanuel.
Love Emmanuel. I cannot wait to. I will stop there. I will stop there.
Maybe when there's a Danish, you can do a Danish accent.
Anyways.
My French accent also sometimes verges into German, I noticed, but it's okay.
Yeah. Wow. So you see there again. What's his big response to Donald Trump? Let's have dinner in Paris. You know, let's have a nice romantic candlelit dinner.
Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, let's find a common way forward, right? Because again, I am so confused. I thought we were on the same team. Like I understood that we are savage imperialists, but I thought we were in the same empire. Yeah. Well, in case you haven't gotten the spoiler yet, we're not. We are under the American empire. So,
but really, this is one of the parts that I don't believe. Right? I believe this surprise of these European leaders. Also, Rasmussen was in this interview. This is the end of NATO. Blah blah blah. They are acting surprised.
Yeah.
And I'm here thinking, okay, I dare to call myself smart, but I'm definitely not the smartest person in the world, and I have no experience in leading a country or being a politician.
Yeah.
I have no academic history in geopolitics.
Yeah.
And even I was able to figure out somewhere around the age 23 to 25, like, actually, we are like some sort of vassal or protectorate of the United States. Yeah. We are completely dependent. Yeah. And we have to believe that our leaders were not fully aware of this all this time, and they are acting surprised now. This is betrayal. Truly, this is betrayal.
Yeah, so this is... I'm sorry, mother, I will bring you up. This is the biggest... Because my mom and I are pretty much aligned on what is wrong. But one place where we do not see eye to eye is that she thinks that our European leaders are stupid. Yeah. She thinks they are incompetent. Yeah. As you said, if the average person, and we're not the smartest guys in the world. He might be because he's a doctor. I'm an idiot, right? I'm not gonna degrade you, but I'm an idiot. So if I could have understood, as you said, at a very young age, I think I was 15 or 16, where I was like, we are vassal states of the Americans, then of course our leaders understand this as well. So what they are doing is not from a motivation of stupidity.
Nope.
They have real motives, and we're going to look at those motives later on. But the biggest one, just as a spoiler, is obviously because their money sits in America. American stocks and bonds represents the majority of European wealth. These people have sold out Europe for the Americans because it's good for their stock portfolio at the end of the day.
Or sometimes I think it's, in the case of Mark Rutte, for example, I think it's not even money, it's just prestige. That's it. He just wants the title, he wants the position, and he will do anything for it.
Yeah, and they understand the role. We like, in order to climb this ladder, you have to suck up to the Americans and do everything they want. And therefore, you know, from a personal aggrandizement, you know, just egotistical point of view, I'll do it. I'll do it. Yeah. Okay, next one, your personal favorite, Mark Rutte. And he, by the way, not the first time that Donald Trump releases a text message from Mark Rutte. So we are going to look at
But Trump is always very positive about Mark Rutte.
Right.
Mark Rutte is one of the few European leaders that Trump actually respects. No, truly.
Yeah. And here you're going to see why. So this was, by the way, from June 2024. I just wanted to share this one before we get into it. Are you going to do the Dutch accent or should I?
This is Dutch. You do the Dutch.
I do the Dutch. Shit. Mr. President. No, I cannot.
Let me try to do Mark Rutte's Dutch accent. Wait, let me try to channel him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Mr. President, dear Donald, congratulations and thank you for your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. It makes us all safer. You are flying into another big success in The Hague this evening. It was not easy, but we've got them all signed on to 5%.
There you go. So I'm going to leave it up for a second here, right? Congratulations on your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary. You know, like, wow, Donald Trump, you did so nice. And now you're going to fly to another big success where you're going to force all of Europe to pay 5% of their GDP for military spending under NATO. What an absolute suck up. Like, I don't... It almost hurts. You know?
Yeah.
Here is the person that was the prime minister of the Netherlands for what, 12 years?
14
I think. Years.
Yeah.
And this guy is celebrating that Donald Trump is now going to enrich all of his buddies in the military industrial complex through European money that could be spent on social programs instead of the military. But no, they're going to go to Donald Trump and his friends. And Mark Rutte's response is, you are doing an extraordinary job. Thank you for disciplining us. That, quite literally. At some point he said, oh, there were some countries that didn't want to pay 5%, and then Daddy had to step in.
You keep them in line. You showed them how it's...
Exactly. And basically saying, thank you for disciplining us. Because as vassal states, we were starting to think that we had right to make our own decisions. Absolute coward, man. Absolute coward. So that was June 2024.
And it's... When you think about it the longer you think about it, the more crazy it gets in some aspects, right? So right now we're spending so much money for our military, and then we have some extra justification now as well that we need to protect Greenland, even maybe from the US. But then, for example, what do we buy for all this money, right? One of the previous very expensive projects was the Joint Strike Fighter project, which got us the F-35, which we aren't able even to use without cooperation from the USA. If they block the spare parts, if they block the logistics, we cannot do anything with this fighter jet.
We have zero sovereignty to the Americans. They control our banking system. They control our military system. If we wanted to take our weapons and use it against the Americans, we would be helpless. we would be helpless.
Yeah.
We have no defense against the Americans.
Even if we had morale to fight them and everybody would be motivated, like we wouldn't have the weapons or the bullets or the planes or
yeah. It would be guerrilla warfare, and that's becoming more and more difficult nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is now Mark Rutte from this week. Do you want to take it away again?
Mr. President, dear Donald, what you accomplished in Syria today is incredible. I will use my media engagements in Davos to highlight your work there in Gaza and in Ukraine. I am committed to finding a way forward on Greenland. Can't wait to see you. Yours, Mark.
So he almost added a kiss emoji.
Yeah.
Yours, Mark. Yours what? Yours truly? Yours subservient?
Mm-hmm.
But again, here you see highlighted your work there in Gaza and in Ukraine. So he is
fake, but
he is saying you are doing a fantastic job colonizing Gaza and Palestine. You are doing a fantastic job on the global stage, especially in Syria. By the way, very straightforward admitting that everything going on in Syria is an American proxy, which again, 10 years ago, we would have been called conspiracy theorists for saying that. But now they just brag about it, right?
It turns out the guy who was Al-Qaeda was actually an American asset all along. And an American asset all along.
How strange that ISIS happened to be an American asset this whole time. And the Kurds that were fighting ISIS were actually just fighting other Americans.
And now the Kurds are being killed
slaughtered
by
the new ISIS regime in Syria. There is no end to this barbarity, and every step of the way, as you can see by this text message here on your screen from Mark Rutte to Donald Trump, every step of the way the Europeans are there to praise it, to congratulate, and to say, how can we join, how can we help in these imperial endeavors? Absolute spineless hypocrites. And this is why Donald Trump will do what he wants in Europe, because no one will be there to stop him. Next, because there was quite some this week. Next we have I wonder if there's the image itself. No, okay, we're gonna have to rely here on the channel W Asia. So this one was from the Norwegian Prime Minister.
You can do a Danish accent on that. Nobody will notice. Nobody knows the difference.
I can do the Norwegian. Dear Mr. President. Dear Donald. No, I honestly, under pressure, I'm folding. I can't do my accent. Okay. It's so embarrassing. I'm trying to.
It is difficult. Like when you're in the flow, it goes easy. But once you have to think about it, it becomes really hard.
Dear Mr. President, dear Donald, on the contact across the Atlantic, on Greenland, Gaza, Ukraine, and your tariff announcement yesterday, you know our position on these issues. But we believe we all should work to take this down and de-escalate. So much is happening around us where we need to stand together. It's like, oh my God, so many things are happening. Why are you adding this pressure on me? We are proposing a call with you later today with both of us separately. Give us a hint of what you prefer. Even like
best Alex and Jonas. That Alex and Jonas really sounds like
a boy band.
A duo like that's doing music.
No, but this is so this was from both of them. This is the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister of Norway, who was very worried about what they were seeing in Greenland, and still like just to. Again, so subservient, right? Give us a hint of what you prefer. Like even the language is coded in just you are my master. You know, it really I don't know how else to describe it. And again, the same exact pattern of saying that that we agree on so many things. We need to stand together in so many areas. So complete denial of the reality that the United States is now an enemy of Europe, and still trying to find a common way forward in agreement when it comes to Ukraine, in Greenland, and so on.
Yeah, if we look at the pre 1940 1939 period, when we look at that now, then we say, this was the era of appeasement politics with Hitler, and I think this is roughly the same. They are still trying to find a way that they think maybe we can negotiate our way out of this, or
no, this is what I was saying the other day on Instagram. The leaders of Europe are once again, just like in World War I and World War II, blindly running into World War III, and the only thing they can think of is appeasement. They are again dealing with, as you said, Adolf Hitler, but this time the orange American version. And instead of finding, we're not even making the first preparation plans to defend ourselves. Nothing is being decoupled from the Americans. And instead we are appeasing Donald Trump, thinking that maybe he'll back down, maybe there'll be another election, maybe then, Obama or whoever the fuck will come back and everything will be okay again and we can go back to brunch. You don't get it.
Actual problem is not just the shifting power dynamic globally and the complete destruction of the rules-based order for as far as if it existed anyway, but they are still. You have the stages of grief or something, right? This is still the negotiation stage. They have not really accepted that this is the new reality.
Yeah, I think some people are moving from denial to negotiation. That is precisely
well, they did
correct.
move from denial to negotiation at least.
So what happens next is we get overrun before we can do anything else.
And once again, you could have seen this coming 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, if you were actually a geopolitical, geopolitics analyst. Then you could have seen this coming for a long time. And the message to the European citizens should have been for a longer time that we need to think strategically again, and we need to protect our interest. But this conversation is only starting this week. This week.
I have to say, Alex Benjamin Jensen, sorry, I said it the Danish way, from Norway, is writing here his second comment. Thank you for joining the live and chatting. I'm going to answer you. So he said, imagine that's our prime minister who was elected by the left coalition in Norway. I know, but this is why you can't be voting for these social democrats. You got to go more left. I think you were already here in the first part of the show when we had Chris de Vonk discussing his politics for Amsterdam. Those are the real politicians. The old red social democrats that you're so used to in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, it's over. They have nothing to offer anymore. They are simply, just like the Democrats have become light MAGA in the US, just a lighter version of Donald Trump. The Social Democrats in Scandinavia and in Europe in general have just become the light version of the right wing. So if you want genuine change, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you, but you can't be voting for these guys and expecting anything in return. This is Mette Fredrickson, but I think it's quite. I think it's quite small text here. So let's see. If we can. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Fredrickson said that her country is okay. Here we go. Mette Fredrickson. So this is the Danish Prime Minister, the one who's being directly threatened by Donald Trump and his invasion. Let's see what her reaction was. Denmark Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that her country is at a fateful moment over President Trump's repeated threats to take over Greenland, the autonomous territory controlled by Denmark. Speaking at a political rally, Frederiksen said, "What is at stake is bigger than what the eye can see, because if what we experience from the Americans is that they are actually turning their backs on the Western Alliance, that they are turning their backs on our NATO cooperation by threatening an ally, which we have not experienced before, then everything will stop." Right? So this is exactly. Here is the first signs of a European awakening. And I want to make something super clear here. Which even in this slightly stronger approach, even in this case, she is not saying that the issue is that the Americans are going against international law, against human rights, or are behaving in a savage way. She is saying the issue is that they are turning their backs on the NATO alliance. So if you take the context of all of this, the only conclusion as any serious person can draw is that the Europeans have issue with NATO disbanding, not with imperialism. They are perfectly fine with all forms of genocide, like we saw in Gaza. But what scares them is that they can't take part of the genocide and are going to become victims rather than perpetrating, right? There are no values being shown in any of these responses, even by the ones that are sticking up to Donald Trump. Yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say from Mette Frederiksen. I think we have one more European leader. No.
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, so I just wanted to play this clip because while all our European leaders are bending over for the Americans, you have the Gavin Newsom from California coming out and talking about us in the way that we deserve to be talked about. So let's listen here. And hopefully you can hear this too. Offensive language, guys.
Europeans who are concerned about the messages from the White House around Greenland this week.
Yeah, it's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, saying one thing on a text or a tweet and another publicly.
Should Europe respond with tariffs?
It's time to stand tall and strong.
Does that mean responding with tariffs?
It's time to stand united. You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
But when you say standing tall, what do you mean?
Just I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders.
Love it.
I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes that are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
So what should Europe be doing?
You should decide, the Europeans should decide for themselves what to do. But one thing they can't do is what they've been doing. And they've been playing. This guy is playing folks for fools. And it's embarrassing.
Exactly right. It is.
I really love how he is speaking from the heart here. It seems it's really he really feels it, and it's good advice too. So
and this is by the way, he's by no means an extreme lefty, right? He's a very center left guy, but even he is coming out and saying, "Man, it is pathetic. It is embarrassing how the European leaders are reacting. Have some form of spine, of backbone, This isn't even your president. He's the president of another country threatening you, and you're treating him like he's your Führer, So,
he's actually feeling embarrassed for them. Like slightly, it makes him slightly angry. And it's really funny to watch.
It's crazy. It's crazy. He's like, guys, like I'm an American, right? Like this guy says, it's like I've seen that Donald Trump is a fascist. I've seen what he's capable of. He's a rapist, like he will destroy your life. And you guys are all out there handing him crowns, giving him gifts, being like, please don't hurt us. Like you have to stand up at some point and come with a real unified response from Europe. I mean, this is embarrassing. Couldn't agree more. Now, why is this the case? Why are we here? Why do we see all these love letters being sent from the Europeans? I think we mentioned it before, but the main thing is capitalism. And I'm sorry to be that guy, but this many problems will always be tied back to this. In order for European companies and the wealthy people in Europe to earn more money, they must take part in capitalism, which requires a lot of resources. Those resources are extracted from countries, where we rely on the Americans for control. If a country in Africa says to the French that they no longer want to give away the resources for free, or that they want some form of sovereignty over their own resources, or they, God forbid, want to nationalize some resources, then we call our American friends, the NATO alliance, and we say we have to topple them. That's what we did in Libya. That's what we did in Syria. That's what we did in Iran. And it never ends. The only reason why you have all these countries that have permanent war is because the Europeans need those countries to be under the NATO boot so that we can extract resources from them. And the people who make the most money out of this imperial system and rise to the top become our politicians, become our CEOs, become the general elite class who control policy in Europe. So obviously, they cannot rock the boat. The last thing they can do is destabilize that system. If they do, they will be casted out immediately.
Yeah.
So I think that's the main reason. Do you also think there's some ideological thing at play? Is there a genuine sense of like the Americans are our own and we have to band with them no matter what?
I think there's some element of this just in like colonial history, I guess, because Europeans have it with Canadians, they have it with Australians, and they have it with Americans too. Maybe I'm forgetting some, but these countries are considered just like us. They are also white, and this does play a part, but I don't think it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I see a lot of people on the left kind of arguing what is the real motive. And some people are like, guys, it has nothing to do with racism. It's just capitalism.
Oh, it's also a little bit of racism.
It has to. I almost can't.
You cannot separate the two.
Yeah,
they have to go hand in hand.
I think it's two motives, and the biggest ones are race and money.
Yeah.
Right, racism and capitalism, and these two combined create the world order that we are living under.
That's also why you see now that there's a reaction to the US when they want to invade Greenland, because now it's ours, and we have no problem with it at all when it's another country. Those people aren't like real people, so we can just extract from them. It doesn't matter so much. And then with the countries we consider white, it becomes more difficult to do that. There's more people are more reserved to do it, and that's also because there's still a lot of this is ideological, but it's racism, I guess, that people are so very convinced that you cannot let these Africans or Middle Eastern people run their own countries because they cannot do it. They are too stupid. They are too whatever. And yes, I do think this ideology, this racist ideology, is in the minds of a lot of Europeans and therefore also in the ruling class.
Yeah. So I think there's those two big currents in the European ruling class, as you're saying, that constantly tie us at the leg to the Americans. First, that a majority of European wealth sits in American stocks and bonds. We rely on the American stock market to fuel the wealth in Europe, which sits with the ruling class. And in order to justify the exploitation of the global South, not only do we rely on them directly, we also need their racism as a form of justification, both to justify to our own populations, but also just in a geopolitical sense that we need this international white alliance between the Americans, Australians, and Europeans, and now also Israel. We need that alliance in order to demonstrate that there is a civilized way of doing things. And that gives us the right to continue these new imperialist structures.
And these other countries, they are just being so stubborn, you know? Why don't they just want to participate in our system?
Exactly.
You see how good we have it. Our system works. Just cooperate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's why we are cocked to to the Americans.
Yeah.
I think we already discussed this, but I had written down a note that in case it wasn't crystal clear, none of the European leaders have ever shown any serious pushback to the Americans and the Israelis when in terms of what they did in Gaza, are doing in Gaza with the genocide. None of them showed any pushback to Donald Trump invading Venezuela and kidnapping their president. They're all out there praising what he's doing in Syria, praising when he bombed Iran. So there is not a single European leader who has anything against the general morality of how the United States operates. The only thing that they are against is when that morality is applied to the Europeans. All of a sudden, international law becomes important. And this hypocrisy is blinding. No one will come to defend us because our hypocrisy is laughable. And I think this hypocrisy will eventually be the end of Europe.
Yeah. Well, I did have this thought this week that they are not just stupid. They know it, right? So it's some kind of collaboration or complicity in how they are actually undermining our strategic interest. And as long as the people in Europe don't start realizing this, that it's not just a problem of these leaders being stupid, but they are doing it by choice for their own benefit. And we keep following these people thinking that they are going to be the solution, because right now they are kind of doing the posturing that we are going to Greenland and we are going to protect ourselves from the US. And I think actually a lot of people are aligning again with these people because they are speaking these words that the people want to hear. But as long as we keep following these people, we are doomed. That's it.
And to underline this point, I just wanted to quickly recap. Like, the United States has been a rogue state that believes in violence, slavery, and suppressing their population for a very long time. There was never a moment where Europeans should have been allied with the Americans if we believed in human rights. Okay, and I'm not talking about slavery back in the day. In the United States right now, there are 800,000 people who are imprisoned who work as slaves, because under the American Constitution, in the 12th clause that bans slavery, there's an exception. You can do slavery as long as the person is imprisoned as a form of punishment. So we have an immense slavery issue in the United States, and we have had that since forever. And the Europeans never once use that as a reason to distance themselves. You know, all this talk about human rights abuses in Iran, in Russia, in China, and meanwhile our biggest allies have 800,000 slaves. They have the biggest prison population per capita in the world, the Americans. Okay, they are arresting more people than any other country in the world, and once they are arrested, they are held for the most part in private prisons where there is no there is no concern for human rights at all. In fact, it seems to be that brutalization is the point, that excessive punishment is the point. Of course, we have Guantanamo Bay, where they openly tortured prisoners, including people, or for the most part, people that were not convicted of any crime. So just picking up random people around the world and torturing them to death.
And I read a few weeks ago, for the first time, I actually read that even some children were put in Guantanamo Bay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so
insane.
These and also, by the way, they talking about the prisons, they all the time convict children as if they're adults, right? There's a law in the United States that if a crime is sufficiently bad, you can go to trial and convict a child as if they're an adult.
And then obviously comes into play the fact that white people in general, they judge people of color at the age 14, 15, 16 more as being adults and not as teenagers.
While I've seen cases, rape cases in particular, of 20, 21-year-old white Americans giving the soft hand and being let go because they have a bright future ahead of them, right? So they are putting... So when we talk about slavery and brutalization in American prisons, we're also talking about children being put in these circumstances. The lowest that I've seen is 13. So children the age of 13 are being convicted as adults and put directly into these prison systems.
It's hard to admit. I think the US and Israel, they may be topping the list of having like children in administrative detention worldwide. They might be the number one and the number two.
So if the Europeans at any point had any regard for human life or human rights, they would have cut ties a long time ago. Last point, ICE, literally a Gestapo force for the Americans. And I see, look, I'm very happy that the white Americans are now waking up and saying, we don't want this Gestapo force shooting us in the streets. But guys, please remember that what you are seeing on your Instagram feed is the parts that they do in public, the parts that they do to their fellow citizens who speak English, who are white, who look like them in public, while they know they're being recorded, sometimes while recording themselves. What they are doing behind closed doors to the migrants is unspeakable. We're talking about lynching, systematic rape, the complete denial of healthcare, being forced to drink toilet water. We had a case now, which is in the court in the United States, of a bunch of migrant parents alleging that there was systematic pedophilic rape of their children in one of these ICE detention centers. And of course, this is par for the course. I'm sure European leaders get happy when they when they hear these things.
They're like, when can we have a turn at raping these children in the prison?
Is this something that we can get in on? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry.
No, but that's serious, because that was my next point. Is
some of these children may even be sold or like.
Yeah, of course, they're being trafficked to the same leaders who are supposedly going to stand up to Donald Trump. Because, by the way, all of these letters that we're reading and comments that we're reading about happened very close or sometimes during the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum is an event that costs $700,000 to get into. It's full of the world's elites, of the world's business elites, together with the officials of countries. So you have all the ministers who decide policies from Europe and around the world attending, with all the CEOs and most monstrous elites. And what do they do in this World Economic Forum? They discuss policies of how to get more profit and essentially do a form of fascism, right? Where the state and private business become one. So the private business lobbies and says, hey, I need you to take this regulation down in this country because I'm trying to advance my profit margins with this new service. And right now the laws are too strict. And all of this advocacy happens, for example, in the World Economic Forum. But the World Economic Forum is not the only place where the elites have a chance to do this. They do this all the time. It's their day-to-day job. The reason I'm highlighting the forum is because we live in a day and age where we have seen the Epstein files. So this is more than that. It's also a moment for them to gather and celebrate. So my real question is, how many children were raped between January 19th and January 21 in Switzerland, in Davos, Switzerland? How many children were murdered? That's the next question, because we're not talking about that often enough. But we're seeing now in the Trump files, I almost called it, but in the Epstein Trump files, how it's not just rape. They also enjoy watching live murder. Like, I don't want to be too gruesome, but one of the documents that's coming out is that they would hire film crews to set up a film set, like a real studio film set with famous directors, and then they would have children essentially murder each other on this fucking film studio. And these are the same people, all of them named in the Epstein files, that are gathering for a World Economic Forum. And if what I'm saying to you sounds shocking, then I'm sorry, but you need to grow the fuck up. We live in Epstein was convicted 16 years ago for human trafficking and trafficking children. And who was he trafficking to? Now we know, because it's been years now that we've had access to the Epstein files.
Exactly. It's becoming a position that's not tenable anymore, to be saying there's not enough proof to make these kind of claims that these elites are actually, even if they are not children, if they are trafficking adults, it's bad enough, right? For trafficking adults for prostitution. But I think we also know that there are children involved. We have more than enough evidence. But that's a problem with these kind of things, that they are so shocking that people tend to not believe them. And also it's hard sometimes to be talking about it without being seen as some kind of conspiracy nut.
You're right away hysterical. You're right away outside of acceptable political discussion. But my challenge is, anyone who is not talking about this seriously are the ones who are outside of any serious political discussion. Because we have bona fide, now we have solidified proof that what the elites the favorite pastime of the global elites, including the European elites, is pedophilia. And anyone who is not talking about that first and foremost is a sham. Because this should be the number one issue for anyone in politics. How can we be run by people who are sadists, who enjoy pain, who worship pain, and whose favorite pastime is inflicting pain?
Yeah, and psychologically it makes sense, right? That if you have so much power, if you have so much money, at some point flying a private jet doesn't do it anymore.
It just doesn't.
At some point, the next beach resort somewhere else, it's not going to give you any enjoyment anymore. You have to go more and more extreme. This is the human nature, I guess.
Yeah, you get desensitized to what used to give you dopamine. Yeah. And then you fall into these loops, which are not new. Like anyone who studies history knows that this is what the elites have done since the beginning of time.
Yes.
This becomes, whatever is socially taboo becomes your primary thing. And last point on this, it's also a useful tool for forming global alliances that are secret. Because if you and I, Ruben, go out and commit a crime now we have dirt on each other.
Yeah.
So if you turn on me and break our alliance, then I have something to immediately get you in trouble.
There's some elements of rites of initiation with fraternities that plays into this as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not only a sadistic pastime, as you're saying, the psychology of what can I do next now that I have all the power in the world. Yeah. It's also utilitarian in the way that you can use it to get blackmail and forced alliances. Once you have committed these the most socially taboo acts in private, you now have something permanently on each other, where if I out you, you can out me, and therefore we are forced to be on the same team. As Hassan Piker calls it, this is mutually destructive pedophilia.
There might even be people participating in it who are actually disgusted by it, but they are participating because they want to be in the club.
Exactly.
This also exists.
You understand that to join this club, yes, very, very strong point. Yeah. I think a lot of people actually fall into that category. Yeah,
there might even be a smaller portion that actually enjoys it.
Yeah. Which is the tyrants inside the tyrants, let's say. No, absolutely. Damn. Okay, last video and then we're gonna cut this segment, but I just wanted to show you, with all of that in mind, of course I'm not the only one saying it, people in Switzerland know this, so they protest the forum every year, and this is how the Swiss police respond.
It'd be really interesting to have some kind of investigative journalist tracking flights coming in, or like people going inside or outside hotels and what's happening there. Really interesting.
Yeah, exactly, because look, here you can see the Swiss people rising up, a lot of them dressed in the classic anti-fascist clothes and colors, burning the American flag, and what you're gonna see is the Swiss police obviously fighting back against them. And my only response to the Swiss police and government is, if you refuse to battle Trump, if you refuse to take down these pedophiles, at least don't stand in the way when the people are ready to go in and take care of it themselves.
No, these are these instances where you can definitively say that the police is actually there just to protect the people in power.
The
That's
police
literally what's happening.
Who we know are criminals and who are committing the worst of worst crimes. The police there, as always, protecting the criminals. Nothing new in this world. All right, you are watching the Eurozone broadcast. If you're watching live, you stay. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment below, and hit subscribe. We're going to be jumping into some other topics, but I want to quickly say that we're quite a new channel here. We don't take funding from anyone, not even the viewers. So we are not accountable or held hostage by any private interests. And that's very important in the day and age that we're in, because as we see every day, there's a new news story about how some influencers are paid by Israel or Russia or anyone to peddle lies to you. We're not paid by anyone. The only sponsor we have, which is non-money sponsor, we just like to promote them.
We got one tray of Coca-Cola.
We got one tray of Coca-Cola.
Not Coca-Cola. Samut Gaza Cola. I was the one who said Coca. Sorry.
Because we are boycotting Coca-Cola. And you should buy Samut Cola instead. But we're not paid to say this. We just were looking for Coca-Cola substitutes, and this one has the Palestinian flag on it. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and with that said, we're gonna continue this live stream. We have one more topic for you guys, and I think it's gonna be a little spicy one.
Okay.
And I think it might even cause some issues for me in my friend groups. But we'll see here. By the way, if you guys are still watching live,
Let me get a drink because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a little
do you-
thirsty. Do you want something
do we
as
have?
well?
I'll continue with this. If
Yep.
that's okay. Yeah. If you guys are watching live, I see your comments in the chat. I've been answering to the ones that I could, so feel free to drop a message as well. And I'll answer. I see here Alex saying that Janssen was how you pronounce it. Yeah, that's expected, right? You Norwegians have the same language as the Danes in the end of the day. I know you guys try to make your own language by calling it New Norsk and trying to differentiate it from Danish, but let's be honest, it's almost the same language still to this day. Yeah, I thought I had one clip that didn't really fit into any of the videos we're going to record today, but I just thought it was like such a good clip to encapsulate the fact that nothing ever changes and that everything that we're talking about today has been going on since forever. So I'm just going to play this one for you guys. Oh, no, I'm showing my... Okay, okay.
Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
Obviously, we'd like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq.
Czechoslovakia and East Germany and Cuba are obviously very important additional proxies.
A third nation, by the way, is Libya as well. Libya is, while no one is watching...
And while we're at it, let's just add Libya to the list. Let's fuck them over too.
Yeah.
Supporting terrorism not only to every part of the Middle East, but to Venezuela. They're in cahoots with the Maduro regime.
Are there any other nations that you would recommend that the United States launch preemptive attacks upon?
The answer is categorically...
Who else is on your
If you
list?
take away the Soviet Union,
Do you have any more?
its chief
Yeah.
proxy,
Oh my god, and by the way, I saw a clip this morning of him also saying that we have to do something about Greenland, which was like 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, the American-Israeli alliance has always had countries on their list that, you know, supposedly if we take out that country, we're gonna have world peace. And as you just saw there, I think it was like 9 or 10, 12 countries that he mentioned. Yeah, so
And also he said that, like, once we get the Soviet Union and then the PLO, international terrorism would collapse. And he
insane.
also said, I think once we overthrow Saddam Hussein, it will have huge positive reverberations for the region, right?
Yeah, the line has been the same since the 40s, right?
Yeah.
If only we take out this one regime, guys, I swear we're gonna have world peace. You know, like it never ends. Okay, guys, we're gonna get into this next topic. I still have the live chat open, so if you want to make it into the video and ask any questions, feel free to add that. Or also if you just want to say hello, because I see some of you guys still sticking around here.
Nice.
Don't be shy. Yeah. Is your mic okay?
Yeah, I want it perfect, and it's kind of an obsession.
Yeah, no.
And I need to stop it.
Once you start moving the mic, it's impossible to stop, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like the hair. Okay. I'm gonna hit record here and we'll get into the next topic. I hope you guys enjoy this one. I will not fight for Denmark. And I am a Danish citizen. And now that might sound very controversial. It's not because I support the Americans. As you're gonna see in this piece, I have a lot against the Americans. The issue is that what the United States is to Denmark is the exact same that Denmark is to the rest of the world. So
Nothing?
I'm
sorry.
No, colonialist.
Okay.
The threat that the United States poses to Denmark is what we do on a daily basis to other countries. And because of that, I cannot give my life to defend something that is not worth defending. And we're gonna end off here on a positive note at the end of the video. Just as a little heads up, I will say what Denmark could change in order for me to join the fight. But as things currently stand, there is no value defending one colony for another. So let's get into what that means. Denmark has no care for human rights, international law, or sovereignty. They never have had. I think the biggest example of this is the Gaza genocide. So you guys might be thinking, little old Denmark, what could they be doing in Gaza? Well, I'll tell you, they are supplying parts for the fighter jets that Israel uses to bomb Gazans. And we can look at very specific details here. So the jet parts that they're supplying are the parts that sit underneath the wing that holds the bombs in place. So basically, the bombs that need to be fitted onto the F-35s need this special system attached to the wing, and that is what Denmark builds. Specifically, the company is called Terma and Saab. These two.
Saab is a Swedish company, right? Or is it Danish?
Yeah, but they also operate.
They operate in Denmark. Yeah.
So these two components are being built in Denmark and given to the Israelis so that their airplanes can drop bombs on people in Gaza. They also supply 80 different other components, all for F-35s, including radar components and other stuff. So they are a big part of the supply line for the Israeli genocide. And I think we have here some proof that I can show you. Yes. So Denmark transferred F-35 spare parts to Israel in March. Denmark admitted to transferring several parts for F-35 combat aircrafts in March this year directly to Israel, which uses the advanced aircraft in its ongoing onslaught on Gaza. Defense Minister Troels Lund Poulsen, in a memo to the Danish Parliament's Defense Committee on Monday, said that the manufactured weapons were sent from warehouses in Skustrup in southern Jutland, according to reported news outlets. Outlet Eltingen. I don't know this one. The military transfer came against a backdrop of the Dutch court ordering that this be stopped, essentially. And I don't think there's too much else we need to go into here. But basically, this is just to confirm to you guys that Denmark has been doing this for a while, since the start of the genocide, and it hasn't really stopped.
So did Denmark fill in when the Dutch weren't allowed to send some stuff for a while?
If I remember correctly, the Dutch never actually stopped.
Yeah.
So
they are saying right now also that it stopped because there's still something ongoing and blah, blah, blah. And he has to judge again. I don't believe it for 1 second. I believe it never stopped.
What we see is that the court orders the military to stop shipping, or the government to stop shipping
to Israel.
Yeah. But what we then also see is that the European militaries continue.
Yeah.
So it's almost
or they just send it through the UK or the US.
Yeah. So basically this court thing is just a way of appeasing the public, making the public go, or just telling the public, hey guys, look, we're taking it seriously. But in reality, the components, the supply lines for the genocide continue. Yeah. And that's obvious, because otherwise Israel could not have continued. They would have used all of their supplies already. But yeah, and it's not only that. There's also Maersk. And for those of you who don't know, Maersk is one of the biggest companies in Denmark.
Yeah,
I think it might even be the biggest. And Maersk is a very old
Novo Nordisk or Maersk.
Yeah. And Maersk is basically a shipping company who can ship anything to anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And serve as the main logistical component to the imperial activities of Europe, NATO, and
yeah,
the
they
US.
really are a backbone of the logistics of the empire.
Yeah. So every time the Americans need to invade a country, every time we do some covert action, Maersk is the one supplying the supply routes or securing the supply routes in order for that to happen. And I just want to...
That's how you become the biggest transporting company in the world, is just have no moral...
of course. But...
Yeah, just ship anything for anyone.
But I will say economic goods. For example, you could ship from China to the US a bunch of normal economic everyday use appliances, right? And you would have more than enough shipping to do if it's just for economic goods. But Maersk comes up every single time there's something to do with military action or something controversial. Every single time Maersk is there. It is almost like it is the preferred shipping company for covert aggressive military actions. And I'm going to show here a very clear example.
Yeah, and the fact that they are so big is also the great coffer, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is looking up when a Maersk ship comes somewhere and unloads, because they are everywhere, so...
Yeah. And what they were doing is, doing arms logistics for Israel. And how do we know this? Because the shareholders voted down a proposal to ban arms shipments to Israel. So this was even taken up within the company, and these proposals are made public. And of course they denied. They said, no, we're going to keep...
Like a ninja, look right. Look.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
we are in the future. We've already had the nuclear war, and we are sitting in a post-apocalyptic studio where there's a fucking mouse
climbing the cables coming from the ceiling.
Yeah, we need to make money at some point, so we can get a normal
real studio without mice. Yeah.
But anyways, at least we're not sending weapons to Israel in the way that Maersk is, under, of course, the endorsement of the Danish company, of the Danish government. Well, at this point, it might as well be a company. Iran, of course, they supported Iran. They were a little more skeptical than a lot of the other European leaders. So the Danish foreign minister said, we need to respect, we need to be careful around international law. Same with Venezuela. But they still don't talk against it, and they still make sure to emphasize that we don't think that the regime in Iran and that Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela are the legitimate leaders of this country. And therefore they give sort of justification for removal, right? And in the case of Venezuela, they also said that they hope to move it towards a more democratic system, which is hilarious, because I don't know how foreign intervention is democratic. But yeah. Someone said, the guy in blue, your English is very good. Thank you.
It is. Yeah.
So I think we can skip over some of these. Like, if you haven't, we've done so many videos on them. If you haven't seen already, these are all...
did we reach that point where we can say, look at this video?
Yeah, look at the video on Venezuela. Look at the video. We haven't done one on Iran, but we should at some point. But it's all to say that every time the NATO American empire goes out and commits a crime, the Danish are happy to support them. So when the Danish all of a sudden are becoming victims to an imperial crime, I don't see why they should be allowed to cry about it, or to all of a sudden care about international law and say that this is not allowed. And something that you mentioned when we were setting up the topics is that actually when we talk about Greenland, even Greenland itself is an example of how the Danish are being complete hypocrites in this case. Obviously, Greenland was taken over by Denmark through colonialism, and in that process they suffered all the classic tropes that people under colonialism tend to go through or are imposed on. And I want to show you guys something here, because I think this was a discussion that was finally coming forward 2 years ago, and now the discussion has gone quiet again, because it's almost like discussing the colonial hold that Denmark has on Greenland now all of a sudden is like seen as a way of being pro-America, or playing into Trump's narrative. So I'm not playing into Trump's narrative, but we have to acknowledge that what Denmark has done in Greenland is absolutely terrible. And I'm going to show you now a video that shows this quite straightforward. This is from DW, the Germans. And it's about sterilization. And hopefully it plays now. Yes.
Greenland in the late 1960s. The indigenous Inuit were gaining ever more rights, but were still subject to the authority of the colonial ruler, Denmark. Henriette Bertelsen was forced to learn Danish in school as well as to submit to Danish doctors. One of them did something to her that haunts her to this day. When she was just 13 years old, all of the girls in her class were told to report to the public health officer.
We were to be fitted with IUDs.
So what they're talking about here is the forced contraceptive policy, or you could also call it forced sterilization policy, that the Danish imposed on the people in Greenland. And by the way, these people are alive and well today, so it didn't happen that long ago. This program ended in the 1990s.
Yeah.
And it had two waves. You had the original wave at the start of the eugenics craze, which was much more brutal. Also a lot of kidnapping children directly and saying you're now going to be Danish. But what is being uncovered here is the second wave of eugenics, where they went in and they did it in a more humane way by inserting spirals into the uterus of very young children, as you're going to see here.
Some of the girls were already crying in the waiting room. We were so young and had never had anything to do with boys. The IUDs they inserted were big, actually intended for adult women. I remember the terrible pain, and that none of the grown-ups paid any attention to me.
And the translation there is not exactly accurate, by the way. They say that none of the adults paid any attention to her pain, but it's not true. She specifically used the word empathy. So none of the Danish doctors and people who were doing this showed any form of empathy or did not treat these people as human, right? And again, this is until the 1990s. I'm not doing this to bring up some distant past in order to say that I'm not going to defend Denmark because of what someone's great-grandfather did. No. The people that did this to her are still alive and are still the ruling class in Denmark today.
They might even still be practicing doctors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like on the edge, but they might. Yeah.
And more importantly, the people who are the sons of, or if not the sons of, the same people who are still in power today, whenever they are confronted with this inside of Danish politics, deny it and try to protect those doctors who did it, who are still alive today, and try to protect anyone from being prosecuted. And also are always denying her, as you'll see in this video, medical care and any other social programs that would give a little bit of reimbursement for the pains that these women went through when they were children. So the Danish have really a savage practice of colonialism when it comes to Greenland. Yeah. We're going to play a bit more and then I'm going to cut it off in a second here.
Bertelsen is just one of thousands of Greenlanders who had birth control forced upon them in the 1960s and 70s. The Danish authorities intended it to slow population growth on the island. The compulsory contraceptive program was put to a halt, yet some of the women were never able to bear children. Bertelsen, who now lives in Denmark, eventually had 2 children, but she is still haunted by her traumatic experience.
Kind of impressive, right?
We are victims of this compulsory contraceptive policy.
That was really bad timing if the mic picked that up. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video here, but I think you get the gist, right? Forced sterilization program, which was extremely difficult. The video goes on to highlight how Danish politicians today are denying any form of compensation for these people. She also says that she has a lot of medical issues, of course, and has to go to a psychologist because of some of these things. And although Denmark has free healthcare, not all of it is being covered by the state. And whenever they try to organize a campaign around reparations, the Danish ruling class always says no. there's no way we're gonna give reparations for what we did just in the 90s, right? It's only 30 years ago.
True.
Yeah.
It's another example where you see that for a lot of these things, apparently doctors are needed to perform these things.
Yeah.
And apparently there are always doctors to be found that are willing to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's not the end of the... Of course, we have the kidnapping of children, which was going on until 1951. The kidnapping of children from Greenland. Basically, the idea there was that we're going to Danify these savages, and we're going to raise them as Danish kids.
All colonial powers have tried this as well, right? It's such a repeating
classic story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have, of course, the stealing of natural resources and heavy taxation on the Greenland economy, taking all of the surplus value and extracting it to Denmark. We have, of course, the slave trade. Now we're going a bit further back in history, but it's just in case you don't know that, like, what I'm trying to build for you is an image that the Danish country has been consistently a colonial power from the era of the slave trade until now. Okay, so we started with Gaza, which is happening now. Then we went back to the 90s and looked at forced sterilization in Greenland. And now we're going to go back even a bit further to the slave trade, where the Danish West India Company, which controlled the Danish colonies in the Caribbean, enslaved many African people who were forced to work on sugar plantations. They roughly transported around 100,000 to 120,000 enslaved Africans to the Caribbean colonies. So they were a huge part of this. And of course, in the actual colonies, they also were doing a lot of brutal colonialism. This includes the colonies in the Caribbean. They also had some places in Ghana. Of course, they also had Iceland, the Faroe Islands, and Greenland that we're discussing now. So these were all the places where the Danes were present as a colonial power. Fun fact, the Epstein Island, not to always bring this guy up, but the actual Epstein Island was a Danish colonial territory, which was sold to the Americans in 1917. Just funny how everything comes back to the same places for some reason. Yeah. So I don't think we need to drag this out much further. It's very clear. I'm not going to fight for Denmark until we stop sending weapons to Israel. I will not fight for Denmark until we stop all economic ties with Israel. Until we cut all diplomatic ties with the US. And until we finally arrest and prosecute our Epstein class for their endless crimes. And I will not fight for Denmark until we tax the rich and rebuild our social welfare system so that you give me something to fight for. Because right now, all I see in Denmark is a colonial power that is lashing out for in a dying breath to continue its colonial rule, and who loves being part of this American imperialist structure, and only have an issue when the American imperialist structure is turned against them. Nothing else to say. Would you add anything before?
It's kind of funny that I had this week kind of a fantasy where I was thinking like, oh, what if the USA does invade Greenland? And I thought, then finally we have a justification to take up arms against the Americans, and we can mobilize people to fight them.
Yeah.
But that's more about like fighting the Americans, and I would love that. But I completely get the point of not wanting to fight for Denmark. I have the same with the Netherlands. Denmark and the Netherlands are so similar in all these kind of aspects. And I cannot fight for that, no.
Yeah, exactly. Like as you said, it's great to fight against an imperial power like the United States, but doing it on behalf of another imperial power. Like if Denmark was to win the war against the Americans, then they would just replace the Americans and continue doing the same thing, right? The only reason I would fight in Denmark is guerrilla warfare. If the Americans were directly in the neighborhoods where my family is, and for some reason brutalizing the civilians, right? Which would be very American of them. But until that point, there is nothing for me to defend. The nation state and the ruling class of Denmark, I have nothing to give you, and you also have had nothing to give me. So why should I defend you? I'm gonna say it again. This is the Eurozone broadcast. We are coming at you live from Amsterdam. If you're watching the recorded version on YouTube, then like and subscribe. We are not funded by anyone, so this is real independent online media. And if you like what we say, subscribe and come back. Let me end the recording. We had one comment on the live stream that apparently our audio isn't that good.
Really?
Because there's some like high pitch noise. Very high pitch noise.
Can we check the stream from our side?
Here. Let's see. Ooh. Wait. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying.
Oh, I am sorry, guys.
Do we know where it's coming from?
No, I don't actually, but usually but that's strange because we even switch microphones. Like
what do you mean?
This is the first time, or not even, right? We used this once before.
Yeah.
So
well, what if we unplug? I hear it. Wait, I hear it from there.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, let's see. Let's see. We're doing audio live. Okay, so now I have to say something. I can't just not say anything because otherwise it might not pick up. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is gonna be so much dead air for the viewers. Oh, that fixed it. Yeah, that actually fixed it. Sorry guys, we're watching the stream back as we're in the stream. So there's something.
So there might be something in the microphone or the cable.
Yeah, there might be something there that we need to fix. We have one. Alex Benjamin, who's been here the whole time. He says it sounds okay over here, but not perfect. Yeah. We literally just had a mouse while we were recording running by in the background. Like this is. I wish you guys could see what is outside of frame here. I mean, you could. I'm not going to show you. But the fact that we managed to build this up is so like, it's so DIY, you have no idea, right? Like this is all hung up by tape.
Just out of frame.
Yeah, these microphones we just got like a week ago.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that you guys are sticking around, and especially thank you to Alex. I think you were here for basically all 3 hours, which is crazy.
Wow.
Because he commented, he was the first one to comment, and I think he will also be the last.
He must be listening to it in the background, but
yeah.
like we all do when we watch a live stream.
But this is amazing. I think this was the second time we had like a proper interaction with people watching online. So come back, and I can't wait to continue slowly upgrading this DIY studio. Yeah, apologies guys, we have no money. This is all done from our own guesswork, and we're also not professionals inside of film. And there's no one behind the camera helping out. Like I'm controlling everything from a little sound device over here, as you can see. It's a little mixer, and there's one camera, and that's it. Okay, I think we're gonna log off for now.
Yeah. Should we check if the beep came back?
Yeah, you wanna hear again?
Yeah. Since I plugged it back in?
Yeah. No? Yeah. We'll do some testing, and next time hopefully we'll fix that little ring.
I blew out my ear.
Yeah, poor Ruben. You've also been sick. That's not not good for your kiddos.
And I'm also in how do you call it? When you're used to something and then I should know this word. I'm annoyed. withdrawal from antidepressants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not great.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes when I move my head, the whole world moves around with it.
You got the vertigo.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah. Nice. No, but I think that's a good step. No, getting out of that. I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah. Well, I really needed it
a
last year around this time, and now I feel like I'm active and I'm doing so many things. Like maybe I don't need it. We will see.
I hope so. I think obviously they have a very strong use, but I think it's good to try to live without them. That's my opinion.
I did like it. It's a really nice stuff. I think it works good. The only thing that's really bad about it is like you don't feel like having sex at all. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah. No, it takes away your libido, I think is the scientific word, right? Yeah, that's not nice. I'm gonna, what does it say here? Who wants the CNN like broadcast when content is shit? So keep it up. Thank you. Yeah, we'll continue discussing the same topics. We do this almost every Saturday. I think we're doing every other Saturday, which I think is a good rhythm. You can also find us on the Instagram. I don't think I will be posting on TikTok anymore because of the new terms and service.
What's the new terms and service?
It was bought by a Zionist in the US, and he's now putting that they will basically track everything inside and outside the app, and are going to use it to kind of build a profile on you. And I'm already seeing that a lot of Palestine creators are quitting TikTok because we're getting no views. Things that get 800,000 on Instagram get 200 views on TikTok. Once or twice makes sense, but it's very clear to me now that it's like a consistent censor. So yeah, TikTok might be done. There's one other comment here, Fyodor7, very true. I'm loving this discussion. Thank you guys. I wish we could continue discussing more, but I think we're gonna leave it there for today. But come back or watch some of the other videos. We have plenty of other ones on the channel already.
And we will be back in like 2 weeks probably. Something.
Yeah. The Saturday live streams. All right. Ciao. Eat your fruit and veggies and don't
fight for the empire.
And don't fight for the empire.